Hello, and welcome to episode 49 of Cutscene Convos, and Happy New Year to all of you.
Happy New Year.
This week we will be discussing who is the Rhino, Bad Batches episode 1 and 2 of season 2. We'll also be having a little bit of a review of Spider-Man Miles Morales now that I finally got around to playing it. Followed by a Nerd News Network special, as we are regularly doing now. Finishing off with a superhero showdown of Blue Beetle versus Deadman. Deadman. Don't know why I changed the A to an O.
Deadman.
But before all that, Hori, how's your year been?
Oh, my year so far. It's only been 5 days.
Yeah, not the rolling year, the current year.
I mean, my week's been chill, very chill. Didn't do too much for New Year's. Pretty much just spent it with family, chilled out, and got back to work at the start of the week. But it's been a very slow week. I think just with start of the year, there's not much going on yet, especially in the world of
That
esports.
first week is everyone just working out what they're doing again, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just getting back into being oh, I have to work. I have stuff I should be doing. So covering bits here and there, but not really had much to do. And honestly, kind of nice way to start the year. Nice and chill. Playing a lot of Tarkov. Tarkov has hooked me again, as has Rust a little bit. So
No.
it's a mix of both. Valorant's also got an update coming out soon, so it's gonna be a mess.
Yeah, there is many gaming games to be played.
Too many games, not enough hours in the day, as is the case. But yeah, Tarkov's got me by the balls at the moment.
Absolutely firm grip.
But yeah, that's been my week. How's your year started?
It's not been too bad. Similar to you, I had a pretty chill New Year's. At home with my partner, my brother, and my parents. She was making cocktails all night. I was drinking
Nice.
many cocktails. We watched the Whoopi Goldberg films Sister Act and Sister Act 2.
Mm-hmm.
We watched them back to back.
Classics.
Finished at 11:30ish. Then
Nice.
rang in the new year, had another drink, and went to bed. It was in class. Then on New Year's Day, I took my parents to the airport.
Oh.
Because they're currently in Spain.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, all right for some minute.
Yeah, escaping the British world.
Yeah, which means I've had quite a busy week because of the people left in the household. I am the only one strong enough to walk our big husky boy. Which means instead of just doing the evening walk, which I normally do, I'm also having to get up at 6:45 to do the morning walk.
Fun.
Yes. And last night I rolled my ankle on the evening walk, which pretty sore.
Lovely.
Yeah, I mean work's busy. We're in the middle of a big project as everyone kind of stopped for Christmas. So it was just coming back in. It's like you have zero time to spin yourself back up. You've got to hit the ground running. Which it's chaotic, but that's what it is. Sometimes I'm sure there are quieter weeks down the road to come.
Oh yeah, I'm sure there will be. But
right then, shall we get into it? So
we shall.
As I mentioned earlier on, we talked about Spider-Man Miles Morales.
Mm-hmm.
And as a part of that, I finally caught up on all my Spider-Man comics that I hadn't read.
Nice.
So that I now have an excuse to not read them 40. I'm like, well, I caught up a little bit. But as part of that, I've been reading a lot of Spider-Man, playing a lot of Spider-Man, just constant. So I was like, you know what? Although they're all pretty well known, I have not done many character profiles on Spider-Man's Rogues Gallery.
No, we haven't.
No, and I decided let's rectify that a little bit. So we're starting with the Rhino. The Rhino, aka Alek Ziech.
Nailed it.
Russian.
Nailed it.
I saw that name and I was so lost. I even tried to get like the
Google Translate to read it out.
pronunciation, no, like the pronunciation, like
yeah.
aligned, and I've still managed to kind of do it wrong. Anyway, he first appeared in Amazing Spider-Man number 41 in July '66.
Oh, nice.
So like he is an OG,
Mm-hmm.
as I'm pretty sure most people probably would have guessed.
Yeah.
Alexei was a thug in the mafia, but he always dreamed of more. And as a result of that, he eventually agreed to be a subject to chemical and radiation treatments to become a super soldier for a collective of Russian spies.
Ah, the classic.
Yeah. And as part of these treatments, he also had a super suit based on a rhino's hide, permanently bonded to his skin.
Lovely.
Yeah. And the Rhino is an unstoppable force. Like he can't be stopped, even if he wants to. Once he starts charging, he can't change direction. He can't stop. It is I'm going until I hit something now. And that kind of flaw, as well as his lack of intelligence, made him a foe that Spider-Man, as long as he's careful, can relatively easily deal with.
Yeah. As soon as he dodges.
Yeah. So he has been released from his suit a number of times. Initially, it was due to a special acid that was created with the help of Dr. Kurt Connors that kind of ate through the suit.
Oh, okay.
But then he just got given a bigger, better suit that dealt with the issues. And that's all that really happens. Every kind of 15-ish years, they find a way to get him out of his new suit just to make it stronger and more powerful. But because of his lack of intelligence of any real level, he's often been used as a pawn by more intelligent villains or even criminal syndicates.
Right.
Because he's a big, dangerous guy that's going to cause lots of damage. Dr. Otto Octavius is just like, yeah, I need you to go do this, go run at stuff, and while he's doing that, I'm going to go commit a more important crime.
Yeah. Easy distraction.
Yeah, which makes him. I think that's kind of why he's become such a staple of Spider-Man's rogues gallery. He gets to be used pretty regularly. And it's always a good fight because of how dangerous he is, but he never has to be the main guy. He can be the main guy, but he's also a very good supervillain to have as like a top tier henchman, especially in comic books when like most arcs are like 3 or 4 issues long.
Yeah.
You can dedicate an entire issue to just an awesome fight with Rhino.
Oh, yeah.
This has resulted in him, due to his pure strength, being part of the Savage Six, not the Sinister Six.
Oh.
Although I think he has been part of the Sinister Six. But he's been part of the Savage Six, as well as Fisk's Thunderbolts.
Oh, yeah.
He was also a police officer when Wilson Fisk was mayor.
Interesting choice of police officer.
Well, I mean, Fisk has always been pretty like obvious about the fact he's corrupt. So he kind of pardoned Rhino and then made him a police officer. And he was kind of like, I've helped rehabilitate this dangerous villain.
Did they put a blue flashing light on his horn?
I like to think so. The really interesting thing, and I have actually read this comic, is that after Mayor Fisk was taken down, the pardon for Rhino didn't get undone. So he was still an innocent, he was still a free man.
Oh.
So he was, I mean, he was chemically bonded into a Rhino suit. He's still pretty limited, but he wasn't actively getting in trouble for a little while. Until he had a spat with Spider-Man Miles Morales, is Spider-Man. In which Miles attacked him. Because he thought he was committing a robbery, but in fact the Rhino was trying to stop the robbery.
Oh shit.
Because the people committing the robbery had also been kidnapping children, including the Rhino's niece.
Okay.
So then there was a really cool couple of issues where Rhino, Miles, and then Captain America teamed up
Oh,
to save his niece from Tombstone's thugs, who was working with the Snatcher,
oh shit.
which was really cool.
Yeah.
Rhino didn't go to prison at the end because he didn't do anything wrong. He was helping Captain America and Spider-Man. And it was actually quite nice to see a more human side of Rhino. Yeah, he still was a bit dense, but he was like, I just want to get this child I care about back. I'm not going to
Yeah.
fight you. I'm not going to hurt you. I'm asking for your help, actually.
Mhm.
And it was also nice to see Miles get to be a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man for everyone.
Yeah.
Ironically, Alexei is also a gambling buddy of Gambit.
Like it.
However, Gambit has been very clear that he doesn't gamble with him when he's like actively wanted.
Yeah. When I could get caught being with him,
Yeah.
I keep my distance.
And Gambit, on a number of occasions, has tried to help him get out of his life of crime.
Oh.
So there we go. Rhino's a really interesting character.
Yeah.
I would
A lot more to him than I thought.
I would love to see him done really well in live action, which is something I feel we've been robbed of so far. We got to see the big mechanical one at the end of Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Yeah.
It was end of Amazing Spider-Man. It was part of the tease for that, and then he was going to be in Amazing Spider-Man 3, I think.
But yeah, we didn't get like.
Yeah, I would love
OG Rhino.
even if it's like very highly CGI, but just done quite well.
Well, yeah, they
and
could
just
do
get,
like a very cool, more of an exosuit than a full-on Rhino mech.
Yeah, no, I don't want it to be robotic. I want it to be like someone who's been trapped in a Rhino suit.
Yeah, I think you could get away with some. Like, there's definitely nowadays they could do that well.
Yeah, 100%. Like, think like Thanos vibes with like high quality motion capture with a good actor and some good CGI. I think it would be a really cool thing to see. And with his brute strength, I think for Tom Holland, or even if we do get a Miles Morales, it could be a really good villain for them to have to try and overcome.
Yeah, I agree.
And that is all I have to say on Rhino. And that brings us on to, for the first time in a little while here, new content.
Yeah, I know. It's been like a month.
It has.
It's been at least a month since we've had anything new.
No, we had something in December. We had
Guardians
of the Galaxy Christmas special.
Yeah. True.
I think it is 3 weeks of podcast where we've not had new content.
It's the longest break I think we had of the whole year.
Yeah.
Well, other than the beginning.
Yeah, other than the beginning. So I hadn't finished Bad Batch Season 1 because when Bad Batch Season 1 came out, we weren't covering Star Wars. I was watching it weekly for like the first 8 episodes. And then I got distracted and stopped watching. Which, I mean, if I don't have a reason to sit down and watch something every week, I do sometimes just forget about a show halfway through and then go back to it 2 or 3 years later.
It's disgraceful though.
So when I knew this was coming, I was like, okay, cool, I need to go back and rewatch Bad Batch. So that's what I did. Really good show. I enjoyed all of season 1. And I'm almost kind of glad that I did kind of have to binge it at the end. Because it meant it was all fresh going in.
Yeah, I have to say, like, going into episode 1, I was a bit like, the fuck happened at the end? Yeah, I couldn't really remember what. Like, we've watched a lot last year, and Bad Batch was a while ago. So,
in fact, was Bad Batch even last year, or was it the year before?
I thought it was last year. Maybe it wasn't.
Animated.
Yeah, maybe it wasn't.
It came out in 2021.
Oh, there you go then. That's why we didn't cover it on the
first
podcast.
episode was May 4th, 2021.
Right, that explains why I can't really remember.
Yeah, so like they probably could have done with like an optional recap at the beginning to go, would you like to know where we left off?
Yeah, that would have probably been nice.
But I mean, for me, I was quite lucky because, like I said, I only just got to it.
Yeah.
So I fell straight into it. So we'll talk about episode 1 first.
Mm-hmm.
So we
Crab
get.
folk.
Is it just me, or did that remind you of the Pirates of the Caribbean scene
Oh, when all the
where when you got Jack running on the beach being chased?
It's that classic, like, oh shit, we're running along the beach to get out of here, being chased by a mob of like islanders, zombies, pirates, like creatures. This time it's just giant crabs.
Insert thing we don't want chasing us here.
Yeah.
I think it was a fun way to start.
Yes.
Because it kind of went, well, time hasn't stopped since where we left off. They kind of ended the arc of the first season with them getting off Camino and going their separate ways with Crosshair, and the Empire thinks they've been dealt with, so they should be safe now. And we just come to find they're essentially bounty hunters.
Yeah, they're just doing
which makes complete fucking sense. Of course, they're bounty hunters. But I do like that when you cut back to the ship to Tech and Omega, you also see that they're all collectively trying to be dads for Omega.
Yeah, they're all trying to teach her, turn her into like the ultimate bounty hunter.
Yeah, and it's quite funny as well because they're like, clearly they do care about her, but they're like, she's adamant she wants to help on mission, so we need to make her useful as well as safe.
Yeah, to able to protect herself because we can't be watching over her constantly on a mission.
Exactly. So you've just got her on the fucking wing of the plane studying every
ship type.
Every ship type. And she's like, rolls over for a second to take a break, and Tech's like, are you done with your studying?
Yeah, it's like, excuse me.
I enjoy it a lot. Wrecker is still my favorite.
Oh, he's fucking great. As soon as they were running along the beach, I was like, okay, Wrecker's done something here.
Yeah, 100%. I adore Wrecker. His arc with Omega in the first season, when he was getting his headaches and he needed his inhibitor chip removed, I really enjoyed that. You just got this tiny little girl staring down a giant freaking clone who wants to kill her, and she's like, but you're my friend. I'm just like, Wrecker would never do this. If Wrecker remembers this, he's going to feel so bad forever.
And then it's, what is it? They get out of that situation, and then it's like,
yes, and then they go back to Sid's.
Yes, to hand in the.
Yeah, they were doing a quest. Come on, we've all been there.
Turning in the quest.
Exactly. And they meet this new character.
Yeah. Some pirate.
Yeah, she's a pirate. Apparently the most trustworthy pirate Sid knows.
Which doesn't say a lot because it's.
Yeah, but Sid's also trusted her enough to give over the secrets of the Bad Batch. She's kind of like, oh, these are the clones on the run from the Empire. So I'm sure we'll see more of her.
Yeah, I think we will.
And we find out about the Empire raiding, essentially, Count Dooku's temple. No, not temple, palace.
Well, it's more just like they're collecting it because essentially they now own it.
Yeah. So they're going to collect his war chest and all of his valuables because they're valuable to him. And Sid's kind of like, you go get like 1% of that, not even.
And you're
free. You guys probably won't even have to be bounty hunters anymore. You can just chill.
Yeah. Because she's like, she also mentions,
and just relax.
She also mentions the fact that like this deal isn't going to keep going forever. Like the Empire is spreading.
Yeah, the Empire is marching out to make everyone under their thumb.
So eventually, like, it's going to be where they are, and like this shit's not going to be going on anymore. So take your chances while you can to try and protect yourself later.
It's got big one last big score vibes. And initially Hunter's like, no, fuck that, that's too dangerous.
Yeah.
But I think for like the first time in the entire show, the other Bad Batchers kind of go behind his back and go, he's being a dumbass here, isn't he? We need to do this.
Well, it's a bit of like Sid kind of went behind his back and talked more to the others about what it was.
Yeah.
Knowing she could persuade them, or they'd be a bit more willing. And then it becomes like it's 4v1. You're the only one who doesn't want to do it, Hunter. So
Yeah. So he does agree to do it.
Mm-hmm.
But he's definitely not happy about it.
No, oh no, definitely not. I mean, it's perfect sense though. It's like, why would you want, like, you're on the run from the Empire. It's dumb to just go marching straight into the place that they're like. Why rob off the people that you're trying to run away from? Like, it's just asking for trouble.
But nevertheless, they go. Then there's the natural hijinks of a heist. All there's people
nothing
there.
goes
What we
right.
gotta do? As Wrecker is leaving with like the first bit of loot, the clones realize that something's not right, and they like go to take off early, which leaves Echo, Tech, and Omega stuck on the ship.
Yes.
And Hunter and Wrecker fighting off hordes of clone troopers.
Yeah. And we
Then
got
we get
new captain, who I don't think we've met him before.
Don't think we're going to meet him again either.
Well, no spoilers. But yeah, we met. There's like all the new clones. Obviously, they're very much. As soon as they realize shit's going wrong, was it Hunter and Wrecker flee to the destroyed city? Yep. The others are scrambling around inside, trying to figure out how the fuck to get out of here.
Yeah. We get to see like a callback to Omega's really clearly quite intelligent because she's already learnt loads about the ship.
Yes.
So she comes up with the solution. Doesn't really work, but that's not her fault. But yeah, there's like as they disconnect is when the episode ends, isn't it?
But the escape pods, I thought it was quite funny how they were like, oh, we'll use the escape pods. And then it's like the clones on the ground, because they're all clones and had the same training, essentially being like, oh, they're on the ship, they're going to try and eject all the escape pods because that's what they're going to go for. Like, that's what exactly, it's like them going, well, if this was me, I already know what we'd go for, so.
They counterplay each other.
Yeah, it's a lot of like counterplay, even though the Bad Batch are like different and have their own specialties. At the end of the day, they're all still clones and all still trained the same. So
your more normal stuff is
replicated across.
Yeah, it's yeah. If there's something technical or whatever, they can do things differently. But when it's just we need to get out of here,
general tactics and stuff. Yeah, it's like, well, it's just general training.
Exactly. Which is why Omega is so important.
Yeah, because she's gonna be completely. She's gonna be a complete like anomaly in that sense.
She's a Gen 1. She's really good quality of the Jango Fett initial DNA that's used. She's Boba. She's Lady Boba.
Lady Boba.
So yeah, I mean, we all know that Boba Fett is more OP than any other clone.
Yeah.
So you would assume that that correlation is there, that Omega's also going to be a bit better than all the other clones.
Oh yeah, definitely, and you can already tell, like, compared to season 1, she's obviously, they've been doing some missions and she's a lot more confident now and like still a youngster and still learning, but like can handle herself a lot better.
Fearless though, isn't she?
Yeah, fearless
just jumping off at these giant mud crabs with a laser bow. Don't give a fuck. She just didn't want to do homework.
Literally, it's like, I can go fight some giant crabs or study ships. I'm gonna go fight crabs.
But yeah, so we ended episode 1 with them ejected out of the back of the
in a container falling through the sky, and
oh no, the engines haven't kicked in yet. And
then Hunter and Wrecker being in hiding in the destroyed city, the old city or whatever it was called. I thought episode 1 was, I'm glad. Obviously, we knew going into it like it was going to be a 2-part thing, so obviously it made sense that like end of episode 1 was going to be a bit of a like cliffhanger on what's going on, like purposefully. But I thought it was a good opening. It was a fun opening, and then like into, oh shit, these missions are getting a bit more serious. Also setting up this more of this idea that I think season 2, there's gonna clearly be a lot more of them tussling with clone troopers and the Empire.
I am so down for Bad Batch season 3, probably, to end with them fully joining the rebellion and then appearing in Andor season 2 in live action. I'm so down.
If they appear in live action, that'd be pretty cool.
It'd be sick.
I'm trying to think, like, unless they maybe show up in Ahsoka for live action, because that's also like set.
Yeah.
But yeah, it'd be very cool to see where like it goes at the end of season 2. But I do
Give
think
me live action Wrecker. I want it.
but then that takes us into episode 2,
Yes.
straight into it.
Yeah, it literally picks off at the exact same place. It's almost like they made it initially to be like an hour-long episode, like the first episode of the first season was, but they decided to split it into.
I think what it was is like they obviously clearly had this episode plan of like release scheduling, and like, okay, well, we want to do a double episode on the first day. Let's just make an episode that is like a 2-episode length, and we'll just cut it in the middle, and it's like part 1, part 2. They did it with some episodes in Clone Wars animated, so
Yeah.
pretty standard for them.
So the container's falling, they're all about to die. Engine kicks in.
Yeah.
Bit too late, they don't land safely, and Tech hurts his leg.
Well, I mean, they land as safely as it would probably have because there's no control over it. But the issue is that we have a nice little like Italian job situation.
Yeah.
Hanging over the cliffs.
I like that reference. I appreciate that.
Nice. Yeah, they're hanging over a cliff edge, and like you could see it coming as they're sliding to a stop, and you're like, well, this is gonna tip over the edge. And yeah, that's the situation. Is like they start to leave, shit tips over the edge. Then it's a case of, shit, let's get out of this before this falls any further down this cliffside. To which they meet a local, which I was surprised by.
Yeah,
Who seems to be on his own.
Yeah, he says this was all that was left for us, as if there was more of them. Yet we see no one else.
I'm wondering if there is other people dotted around, but they have to keep solo so that they stay under the radar, essentially.
Maybe. I don't know if like the Empire really cares that they're there.
Possibly not. I think they're more just there to get their war chest and
scared. Maybe they're just scared. I mean, their planet just got destroyed for no reason.
Yeah,
maybe they're just like, even if the Empire don't give a fuck we're hiding out here, we're not going to make it obvious we're out here.
No. And I think the Empire, it seems that they're there just to gather up whatever money and resources they can to then just leave. To them, there's nothing left on that planet of use. But meeting that character led to like what I thought was actually a really nice kind of moment of them discussing about the history of the planet. And I think it's Tech calls it the Separatists' history or Separatists' data. And he's like, well, no, we were here before the war began. We lived on this planet before the Empire was a thing. And it's like, oh shit, yeah, like the clones obviously have one perspective on people of that, like they were trained, these are the Separatists, these planets are Separatist planets, like they're the bad guys. They're not really trained or given the chance to think like, oh, these are genuine people behind this that were here before all this war shit began.
It was once again one of them Star Wars holding a light up at everyone and going, just because someone's on the other side to you doesn't mean they're not people.
Yeah. Literally.
Which, I mean, good Star Wars has always done.
Yeah.
And praise the beings and powers that be. It's getting more common again with your
Dave.
Andors and your Bad Batches. Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Good old Dave.
We know who it is. It's Dave. And I think that more human aspect is what I like so much about the Clone Wars. Because
Yes.
it
It
focuses
also
on them topics.
and it also just adds more depth to the world that like you don't really stop and think about with the films because the films have to move through stuff so quickly, essentially. Um, so yeah, I thought that was a really nice moment. And then on the opposite of that, we get Wrecker and Hunter being total fucking badasses in the city,
Yeah,
taking on a whole battalion of clone troopers.
not giving a single fuck.
Yeah, and then Wrecker becoming an actual tank, which I loved. I loved that he did that.
Hori, do you want to put together a D&D campaign for us and friends, and we'll play as the Bad Batch?
There is Star Wars sort of D&D slash roleplay. Like someone there's pre-built like rules and stuff for it. You can do stuff in the Star Wars world.
Shotgun Wrecker.
But Wrecker just being an absolute tank with the fucking
Yeah.
battery pack was sick.
Wrecker just has these brilliant moments in a lot of episodes where he goes from being this like lovable goof who you forget is like a big like monster, and you're just like, oh, that's Wrecker, he's sweet. And then he just has these moments where it's like, okay, I'm sick of this now, I'm just gonna fix it. And then
Yeah,
he just runs and gets something done.
He's like that intelligence level of like, well, his character is where it's like, oh, we need to get a tank to escape. None of the tanks working. He's just like, battery, big gun, I strong to hold big gun, I shoot big gun. And literally just as like becomes a moving, walking tank himself.
The simplest answer is normally the correct one. Vibes.
Yeah, exactly. I also love the fact that like obviously they fight and eventually their paths recross, but it's like when they get on the ship, he still has it and he puts it out. That weapon, he's going to start using that more this season. I think it's going to be like his new signature thing to have this like tank cannon and a battery pack.
What did you think of the slight armor updates?
I liked it.
So did I.
Because I'm always a fan of how they've done like clone armors and different colors and that's different battalions. It's always fun seeing like the different designs. So like,
and also I think it makes sense to show like the passage of time.
yes,
They will feel a bit weird about their time in the Clone Wars now.
well, yeah, it's like
they're now the
also
bad guys.
it's their way of showing like the color thing. I think. Do you know what I actually think it is? I think the color stuff is Omega coloring their suits in.
Oh, that is such a good headcanon. Omega gets bored and colors their suits in.
Yeah, literally. And I think
such a good
that's
headcanon.
the colors, and then the stuff like the extra like leather utility belts. The funny thing, I like the way my brain went is like, well, that makes total sense because when they were clone troopers, everything is like everyone has the same armor. Everything's clean, precise. Like when you're out in the real world, like you go to a shop, like go to buy something from a store in the real world of Star Wars, it's like, yeah, some leather utility belt. It all becomes more like utility needs and what is available. And it's like, yeah, you become this like mismatch of like armor and leather armor and like weird bags and like extra belts and stuff. And it's like, they're not going to look like clone troopers anymore because they're resupplying themselves with like real world shit. So it adds that, like you say, that level of passage of time and like kind of just extra depth to where the characters have been, which I did really like.
Then Omega runs off to go get more loot because she heard Echo and Hunter's conversation about how their lives are different because of Omega. She took that as like they wish they hadn't. I took it the other way. Hunter was like, our lives are different with her, and Echo was like, that's why we have to do it. Our lives are different because of her. And I thought I took that from Echo as, yeah, we need to try and not spend the rest of our lives doing this shit. We need to try and go get that money so that we can set up a nicer life for her.
Yeah, I think I kind of picked up on both sides of it. Of like, you could, I think my brain originally was kind of like, that's a bit harsh to like say. I thought he meant it more at first anyway, that they could have escaped and been chill, hiding pretty well if they hadn't gone back and got Omega and had to go through all that. But then also it's like, hang on, no, he just means in a sense of like they need to do this job to get them all out of that situation
Yeah,
now. Obviously Omega being a kid, you hear someone say, "Oh, because of you,"
yeah.
kids think, "Oh,
That
I've done
doesn't sound
something."
like a good thing, does it?
No, so
Um,
yeah,
and then they all have to do the. I hope this kind of plot device doesn't become too regular. It happened enough in season one, but I'm ready for them to move on from it. I'm kind of over the something goes wrong. Omega goes to try and do it how they were going to do it initially, and does it by herself. So then everyone has to go and save her.
I think what we're gonna see is like at the end where he's like telling Omega to like let it go. Like we don't like you don't need to get that. Let it like understand like you basically being like understand you don't have to fix something that doesn't actually need like you're taking blame for something that isn't and trying to deal with it yourself. I think we're gonna see her character develop to being less of that run off and try and deal with it on her own and realizing them as a team is more important than her like feeling the
Yeah.
need to fix a job when it goes
She
wrong.
needs to fully become integrated with the squad.
Yeah. I think we're gonna see that development this season. And that was kind of like a hint towards that at the end of episode 2.
Yeah. Then we got the new clone captain with like the black shoulder corner piece.
Yeah. I can't remember his
Um,
name now. I think it'd be with an A or something.
talking to I forget his name, Rampart.
Why? Something like that. One of the
I think
Imperial
yeah.
boys.
The main bad guy of the
Bad Batch lot.
Bad Batch series. And he was like, I think there's a problem with your report. You said, yeah, it's Rampart.
Mm.
You said that Clone Force 99 was there, but that's not possible because they died on Camino.
Yeah, I killed them.
Yeah. And he was like, no, I'm pretty sure they were there. I think you got bad intel, sir. And he's like, yeah, we're going to change that report because we don't need Tarkin thinking I fucked up.
Yeah.
Also,
Well, he says that, and then it's like the clone stood there, and it's like the clone being like, because they're essentially programmed to think a certain way, like by the book, like it's like you could see it sort of like erroring, being like, hang on a second, no, I'm not gonna lie, that's against my like programmed morals. I can't go against the book. That's wrong. Oh well, that's a shame. Boom. Guess no one's gonna know. Basically, like
we'll just
I'm
end
changing
that
it
now.
either way, whether you want to agree to it or not. You haven't got a choice. So
So I think this season's going to be interesting because I think it's going to start off with Rampart just trying to hide that the Bad Batch even exist, and then they're going to be making so much noise. He's going to be like, "Well, now I just have to kill you."
well, what I think is going to happen is he's going to try and use non-empire means to get rid of him. Like he's going to hire bounty hunters or other people, like
Bit,
secretively.
bit of Cad Bane cutting about.
Yeah, trying to hunt them and get rid of them quietly. And like you say, they're going to end up bumping, like they're going to cross paths with the clones more and more. And this kind of like unintentional, probably for the Bad Batch, like they're trying to keep away from them, but they're going to have to keep doing stuff. That it's going to get to the point where he's like, fuck, I'm going to have to like officially do something about this now. Or Thrawn's going to come at him and be like, the fuck is going on? Like, some shit's going to go down.
Yeah, it's going to be a interesting one for sure, and I'm excited to see what kind of shenanigans we get. At the
Yeah,
end of the
me
day,
too.
it is a cartoon. It's not going to be super deep. They're 25-minute episodes.
Yep.
But the Clone Wars and Bad Batch Season 1 managed to have a couple of moments that were truly
Well,
better than what
there's
people connotate with the animated shows.
I know from the like episode release schedule, there's 2 other points where we get like double episode releases. So
Yeah.
there's obviously 2 more like part 1, part 2 situations. So there's obviously like a couple of
I
big
imagine
plot
that's
points are
like
going to be like,
mid-season and end-season.
yeah, I think it is. So they're going to obviously be pretty pivotal episodes, I
Yeah.
would
But we
imagine.
got this show's goes like 2.5 months, isn't it?
Yeah, something like that.
16 episodes,
Yep.
one a week for most weeks. So it's probably like 3 months actually.
I think it's like
Um,
I think it's like 3 months essentially.
yeah.
12 or
So it'll be
13
good.
months.
I look forward to
Yeah.
covering it, and it's a good show. I know Bad Batch kind of just called Clone Wars Season 9.
Yeah, it
Um,
has.
and it was to an extent. And I think it's a kind of weird take, not because like it's wrong or anything, but I mean, why would anyone have an issue with that? Everyone would
Oh
love.
no, I don't think people. I don't know if it's necessarily people having an issue with it. I think people want more Clone Wars. So it's like, oh, this is essentially Clone Wars season 9. I think more so as well, so people understand it's
Where it
set.
sits.
Yeah, where
Yeah.
it sits.
I get that.
But yeah, looking forward to the rest of this.
Me too.
I love the Star Wars animated stuff.
Right. On to video games.
Yes, your news little
Yeah.
segment.
So months ago, Spider-Man remastered
Mm-hmm.
came to Steam,
It did.
and I bought that bitch and I played it.
Yeah.
I'm also playing that game again in my free time as well. Because I'm still trying to 100% it. Because I've never 100%ed a video game before because ADHD go brr. So I finish story and then just dip.
Wow.
But I'm grinding this game to 100% no matter how many attempts it takes me. But on my streams, I've been playing through the Miles Morales story because that came out in December. But I didn't buy it because I knew once I bought it, I'd want to stream it, and I wasn't in the right place to be streaming.
Yeah.
So it was on sale over Christmas, so I got it cheaper than I should have anyway.
Nice.
And I bought it, and I was like, in the new year, that's how we're getting our foot back in the door of content. This game, I mean, I've put it in the notes that I sent to you. It is the definitive superhero game.
That
So
doesn't surprise me.
Spider-Man and the Batman Arkham games get compared a lot because
Mm.
like the core gameplay loop is pretty simple. Go here, do this thing. You're going to use gadgets. There's going to be some stealth. There's going to be some loud. You can kind of do it however you want for a lot of it.
Yeah.
But stealth is easier, and there's a lot of freedom over how you want to be a superhero for a lot of it.
Yeah.
My big thing was the Arkham games didn't look as good because they were older, which is fair.
Well, yeah.
But the combat was a bit crisper than Spider-Man Remastered.
Yeah. I think it's more
combat-
just the combat in a way was a bit simpler.
Potentially. The combat in Spider-Man Miles Morales is so crisp.
Nice.
It's so good. I can't believe it. They simplified the side missions and all the tokens to unlock suits. So they kind of got the grind is still the same, but it's not as confusing. There's not
Yeah.
7 different tokens that you need to collect to unlock stuff.
Right,
It's just
okay.
like there are 2 things you need to collect. You'll use them to unlock everything.
Fair.
So there's just as much to do,
Yeah.
but it's less complicated.
The gameplay mechanics have been simplified down a little bit.
Yes, exactly. The story might be a touch weaker than Spider-Man was, the remastered Spider-Man was. But the Spider-Man Miles Morales game was also like 17 hours shorter.
Right. Well then, yeah.
So like you can't have as complicated and bigger story.
No, you can't.
I think that although they didn't release any DLC for Miles Morales because they just started working on Spider-Man 2 instead, I genuinely believe they could have taken Spider-Man Remastered and Spider-Man Morales and just released 2 DLCs a year for that for the next 5 years, and no one would have made a fuss.
Probably.
And then they could have spent 2 years just working on whatever, and then the last 3 years of that working on a replacement for them 2 games. And then just repeat, and it's like 5-year cycles of Spider-Man games. And the only thing they'd really need to improve would be like graphics and all of that kind of stuff.
I wonder if
But it's just they're so good.
decided to get going with the second Spider-Man so they could streamline it closer to how Miles Morales was. With
Maybe.
like those things you said, those changes that are different.
Quite possibly. But if you have a PlayStation or the ability to play or a PC, I cannot recommend them enough. I think the easiest way for me to explain it is I don't 100% games. I literally never have, and I've been gaming since I was 8 years old. I fully intend on 100% in both these games and potentially 100% in the new game pluses. And that's 100%
Absolutely
in the
hot.
first Spider-Man game, including the 3 DLCs for Spider-Man Remastered.
Jeez.
So like, it's a lot of hours of content.
Yeah.
In fact, let me open my Steam so far right now and see how many hours I've already put into Spider-Man Remastered.
I can already tell
Memento.
you're gonna have to pump those numbers up. True.
So I've
Steam
already
gamers.
spent 30 hours on Spider-Man Remastered.
Gotta get that into triple figures. Come on.
And I've still got an entire DLC to play, and the other 2 to finish off the little side bits, as well as all the side bits for the main campaign and New Game Plus.
Jeez. There's a lot.
There's so much content, and the best bit is like, I stopped playing it for what 3 months in between. Literally didn't even look at it. But then I started playing Miles, and I was like, okay, I want to play more of this game, but I can't play it off stream. So I just go back to the other one to grind it.
To play the one that you've already streamed.
So like, instead of getting in from work and playing 2 hours of COD grinding camos, I'm now playing 2 hours of Spider-Man grinding suits. It's the same thing, just a lot more fun.
Wait till you get to Tarkov.
Mate, you know what? That is going to be the only thing that slows me down on 100% in it.
Yeah, because
eventually, even if it takes me 2 years, I will.
Yeah, we will announce it on the podcast. Don't worry.
Yeah.
So
it will be it'll be a big moment.
Make sure you stay listening to what happens.
Yeah. Just episode 150. The only topic is going to be how I finally 100% did a game.
It's going to be a solo episode, so Connor can just go through the entire game.
Anyway, if you have any inclination towards superhero games, or if you played any of the Batman Arkham games and really enjoyed them, give it a go.
Here's hope.
And here's something that a lot of gamers are really weird about. If you need to set it to the easiest difficulty to enjoy it, just fucking do it.
Yeah.
There's a really weird kind of consensus that if you're not playing on the most maxed out stupid difficulty, that you're not playing the game properly.
I feel like it's that thing of like, if you're not at least playing on normal
games.
Yeah, it's not even that. It's like it went back into the day of like COD campaigns and Halo campaigns. I think what it came from is I do think it came from like Halo campaigns of like Halo Legendary was really hard. So it was like an achievement to do the games on Legendary and like a bit of a flex. So then now it's like, oh, if you're doing it on anything less than normal, you're not really gaming.
Yeah. But the stories in these 2 games are good enough that if you're not a particularly good gamer, or you don't want the stress of having to like,
it's like
worry
you're
about
playing a story game for the story, not 100%. To be like a pro at the combat of Spider-Man.
Exactly.
So, yeah,
exactly.
It'll be interesting to see if the Wolverine game is done just as well as this Spider-Man game.
I really hope it is. The only thing I'm curious about is how they're going to handle movement throughout the location. Because for Batman, you've got like his grappling hook and then his gliding. With Spider-Man, you've got his webs. I don't know how you do that with Wolverine.
It depends on... Well,
imagine if they give us his bike.
Yeah, they actually might. You might get a bike. And
you could have a lot of fun with that.
You can also, depending on the settings, like he can climb like using his claws and stuff and traverse that way.
Yeah, I'm sure they'll have a solution for that. Insomniac make good games.
Yeah,
I trust them. And this brings us on to the Nerd News Network.
Yes, it does.
It's been a bit of a weird week because there's not been loads of news, but there's been like a couple of bits that you kind of go, "Oh, that's something."
Yeah, and oh shit, that's important.
Yeah. But we started off the week with some genuinely quite scary news.
Started off the year with not the best start.
So Jeremy Renner was run over by a snowplow, it now turns out. So apparently, according to the police report, he was driving, he got stuck in snow.
Well, so
sorry, he was in a car with a family member on their
or
land.
one of their family members.
Yeah. And the car got stuck in snow. He went back to get the snowplow. And then he dug the car out, and the car got out no problem. He then got out of the snowplow
to chat,
to go and talk to them.
Classic.
At which point the snowplow started rolling.
Mm-hmm.
So then he tried to jump back in the snowplow to put the handbrake. I don't know if it's called a handbrake, but
it will be. But yeah, basically regain control of it.
Yeah, and he got run over in the process of trying to jump on board.
So my understanding is this isn't just like some small little sit on lower.
Yeah, it's a big one.
This is like one of those, not quite as big as what you get at a ski resort, but like that style where it's caterpillar tracks is my understanding. So if he's gone to jump in the door and it's like you've kind of got to step on the caterpillar track and like it's rolling and then his foot gets like knocked.
Yeah.
And it's snowy and slippy. Like, yeah, he's somehow ended up on the floor. It's gone over him.
Yeah.
And apparently he was losing a lot of blood. Thankfully, his neighbor's a doctor.
Yeah, severely bleeding. His neighbor was a doctor and managed to come over and put a tourniquet on it until the paramedics arrived,
and which got airlifted.
I can only imagine potentially saved his life.
Oh yeah, 100% probably did.
But he was in a critical but stable condition as of the 2nd when the news broke. He is now conscious. He's done a couple of posts to social media.
Yeah.
He's still in a bad way. He's still pretty beat up, but he's conscious, alert, chatting.
The initial reports were he'd had a serious accident and was critical. Then it came out that he had got run over or a snowplow incident, and that was it. Then it was like he had chest injuries, and the way it was worded, it was like blunt trauma, chest injuries, and something to the like. And it's like basically what it comes down to is he's probably had broken ribs, and his legs have got torn up, and he had severe, like a almost deadly bleed on his leg.
Yeah.
Thankfully, yeah, I think that if it wasn't for that doctor, he probably would have lost his life or lost a leg potentially.
Sure.
And yeah, he's very lucky in that sense. And I know that they're now treating the incident scene as technically a crime scene because snowplows like that are meant to have safety features that don't allow people to be run over.
Oh.
So I imagine they're looking into that and finding out if it was something user error or if there's something that happened that shouldn't have happened, because then manufacturer's in trouble.
Yeah, as a manufacturer, you really don't want your machine to fail and injure.
Yeah, it's one thing injuring
one of the biggest
general
names in Hollywood
it's now. One thing if this was just your general Sam like plowing his driveway, but to be one of the biggest, like a big Marvel actor who
a fucking Avenger.
Yeah, like it's like, oh shit, this isn't the press you need.
But no, it looks like he's going to be okay.
Yeah.
Touch wood. He's, like I said, he's alert. He's conscious. He's doing social media posts. I'm sure there's going to be a long recovery window for him.
Yeah,
but
definitely.
At least he is alive.
Yes.
Another one that this is like other end of the spectrum. It's not that serious. It's not that deep. It's just a bit interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So a famous comic book writer by the name of Dan Slott claims that the She-Hulk TV show is the most comic book accurate Marvel project. And that anyone who's trying to bash She-Hulk for not being comic book accurate is a fucking idiot, essentially. He's of the opinion it's okay if you don't like it, but don't claim it's not comic book accurate.
Yeah, exactly.
And the real kicker,
he'd worked on a lot of the She-Hulk ones.
The real kicker is he has written more She-Hulk comics
that was
than
it.
literally anyone else.
So there you go. It's not just any comic book writer, it's essentially the She-Hulk comic book writer.
Yes.
And if he's saying it's the most comic book accurate, then I'm sorry, everyone else is wrong that says otherwise.
Don't get me wrong, he might not be right about it being the most comic book accurate, but it does mean that people's argument of it's not comic book accurate,
well, yeah,
fucking on the floor.
I think it's more so him saying the most comic book accurate to definitely to She-Hulk comics.
Yeah, 100%.
So like, if he thinks his writing on the comics has been shown just as well as it should be in the show, then like, say what you want, but
it's just an interesting one. I can't believe that for how much people seem to hate She-Hulk and they're like, oh, it's just bad. It seems to get discussed a lot on the internet, which makes me think it's actually not that people dislike it; they dislike the message of it, and therefore they can't get over it.
Yeah, and I feel like there's also
when you like get under someone's skin and they just sit there, it just goes round and round in their head, and they're constantly going, yeah, but what about? Yeah, but what about?
I feel like it's a new thing that people find to hate about it. It's like people have kind of got shut down about, oh, it is comic book accurate, or no, it is a good, funny show. And it's like, oh, damn, that's okay. They make a good point. It isn't bad because of that. Now it's like, oh, it's bad because Daredevil, this isn't the best way Daredevil should have been brought back into the MCU. And it's like, really? Like, it's perfectly, like, it was a great, fun way for him to reappear.
Hate to break it to you, but Daredevil, you've fucking got me going now. Daredevil is an absolute slut.
Yeah, I think he
absolutely would have been all over.
People were like, "Oh, we could have had a better way of him being reintroduced," but it's like you just finding a comedy show. Yeah, you're just trying to find reasons for an issue with She-Hulk, and honestly, you're struggling and clutching at straws. So,
we then had a very funny video from Hugh Jackman on Twitter.
Yes.
So Ryan Reynolds was in a film I forget the name of. By the sound of it might have been a musical. And Hugh Jackman was very complimentary of the film. All of the actors in it but Ryan Reynolds. So like he named a number of the lead actors other than Ryan Reynolds and said how great they were. Complimented the person who wrote one of the songs and said how much he loved that song. But that song is now up for an Oscar.
And
basically he was like, we cannot let it win an Oscar because the next year of my life filming Wolverine and Deadpool is going to be horrific if Ryan Reynolds wins an Oscar for this, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
Like, pleading. And as the internet does, its only takeaway was, oh, he called it Wolverine and Deadpool. Is that a title leak?
And I also saw someone tweeted that at him, and then Hugh Jackman replied to that tweet saying, sounds good, doesn't it? So
I imagine part of the marketing for this film is going to be Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman fighting about whose name should come first.
Well, that's how they marketed their alcohol brands, was just them making videos about each other taking things. And so it's 100% going to be, we're going to get a video of Ryan Reynolds now, and he's going to call it Deadpool and Wolverine.
Yeah.
And it's going to be this argument of whose name goes first.
And it's going to be brilliant marketing because they're both such good actors. You could genuinely believe they didn't like each other.
Oh yeah,
it's going to be great, and I cannot wait for the marketing. It's going to be some of the most fun marketing we've seen in a while.
I guarantee there'll be. Do you know what? I guarantee there's going to be 2 official posters. One will say Wolverine and Deadpool. The other will say Deadpool and Wolverine.
Yeah,
and that's just how they're going to like. There is going to be no. And official way.
Deadpool in big letters, and then just Wolverine in the bottom right hand corner in a tiny.
And then there'll be an opposite one of Wolverine and Deadpool tiny in the corner.
Yeah, if they're smart, there will be.
Yeah.
Talking of people who may or may not be smart.
Oh God.
So.
Yeah, I sent this to you, didn't I?
We need to take this with a pinch of salt because there's a lot to unpack here.
There is. I have a theory.
The DC execs are rumoured to be open to keeping Ezra Miller since they've been behaving themselves, essentially.
Since they've been dealing with their mental health.
Well, yeah, and not committing crimes.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. that makes me just think that James Gunn isn't sure if he wants Ezra Miller, and the board have just kind of gone, "We will back whatever decision you make."
Okay, so I've sort of taken it a similar way. I've gone, key thing here is DC execs. If this was James Gunn, publications would be saying James Gunn because he's the talk of the town at the moment with DC. I 100% think it's like you said, the board, the execs at the top have, because they're the ones who've had to handle getting Ezra Miller, and dealing with the legal side of this probably, are going, yeah, he's been behaving. We're open to keeping him, still
We're not
working
going to
with him.
close the door.
No. And I think what's going to happen is they've said that, and then in a week or so, James Gunn's going to have to put out another set of tweets of shutting off rumors, and he's going to go, yeah, I have no intent on continuing with this current Flash or something. He's like, the Flash will be a character I use, but it won't be the current Flash. Similar to how he said about Superman.
Or you'll get something like, I have no immediate plans for the Flash. I know that I want to use the Flash, but I haven't got any further than that yet. But I think there are rumors saying we're going to get their initial plan by the end of the month, which might then give us a better idea of what to expect.
I think what we'll get then is a list of titles. But I honestly, everything so far from James Gunn, I'm liking. I'm on board with.
We just got to give it a chance.
And
I mean, it can't be worse than the shit we've had to deal with.
No, but I will say, if he says, yes, I'm more than happy to keep working with Ezra Miller, I'm sorry, that's a big red flag. I'm sure Ezra Miller can turn a corner and be a great actor, but I honestly, if he chooses to keep using him, he's shooting himself in the foot with Flash. Because
I think
even if it's a James Gunn run Flash film, those people that have a thing against Ezra Miller will just, for the sake of it, be like, nah, it's going to be shit. We're boycotting it. Everyone boycott DC. They still want to work with Ezra Miller.
I think the only way Ezra Miller can work is if the Flash not the Flash film that's already done, but any future Flash projects get shelved for 3 years. And Ezra Miller just spends that entire time, or a year of that, sorting themselves out. And then the 2 years after that on a huge press tour to repair their reputation. And after that, I think as long as it doesn't feel phony, which is always the tricky bit, people will go, yes, what they did was unacceptable, but it seems like they were really struggling and they're now better. And for the most part, people are willing to give people second chances.
Yes, but also in the age of the internet, I think it's pretty difficult.
It's always going to be something that follows Ezra Miller around.
Yes, and I think James Gunn is, if he chooses to use Ezra Miller, is going to make his own life a bit difficult.
But let's not forget James Gunn is on his second chance as well, so he might be more willing to give people second chances.
Yeah, I just think he'll end up making his life harder to get fans on board if he chooses to stick with Ezra.
But we'll see. We
also need to see what the fuck happens in this Flash film.
Apparently, it's really good though. All of the early screenings and everything I'm reading, there seems to be a lot of buzz about it, and I want it to be good because I love the Flash.
Yeah.
But it's tricky.
Yeah.
In some really cool but quirky and weird and fun news. So last year, or was it earlier? Who knows?
I don't know. Last year?
2021. September 21. We got season 1 of Visions on Disney Plus, which was it worked with 8 anime studios.
Yeah, it was
create unique Star Wars stories in an anime style.
8 official anime studios, which for an anime studio to be an actual one, I'm pretty sure it has to be based in Tokyo or Japan. is like the term. But yeah, they worked with them. They said they can do, these are the, like, obviously the rules of Star Wars and like the world that it's set in, but like the story can be anything you want. And they all came up with their own thing and their own style.
And
And
they were all fucking amazing.
yeah, they were all amazing in their own right. There was one that stood out from the rest, and everyone loved that a little bit more, which was the black and white samurai style one. Um, to which I am pretty sure shortly after Visions, because everyone loved it so much, it got announced that it was going to have its own book. Well, it now seems like this comic book
Yes.
is starting.
So Marvel announced their comics that are coming in the new year, which include the Judgment Day, which is Avengers X-Men Eternals crossover, the Deadly Neighborhood Spider-Man,
Interesting. Connor's adding to his
um,
list.
and then Star Wars Visions. The cover art for that does look like it fits the samurai.
Yes, it looks just like the style of that.
There is also a new Wakanda #1 coming, which looks sick. I am very, very tempted to get this because I imagine it's going to be a manga style.
Yeah, it's going to be a bit more of a manga style, I think.
I
I
would
would
imagine
imagine.
so.
At least art style. It probably is going to be very cool. And obviously, alongside like the announcement of Visions season 2 coming, I can't, like, as much as I'm on a weird thing with Vision season 2 because it's like I want 8 completely new studio style, like new things again, because it was sick. But I also want more of the samurai. It's just like, do they give us another episode of that from that studio, or do we get like a whole new set again?
Yeah.
Um,
I would like some of the ones we saw to get like sequels, but then I'd like some new ones as well.
yeah, I think I'm similar. I'd like a mix. But yeah,
But yeah,
super
so
cool.
it's really cool. Disney for a long time now have been producing Star Wars comics via Marvel.
Yes.
Um, I'll be honest, I've not looked at any of them. I'm sure there are some good ones. But as far as I know, basically all of the comics aren't canon, which just to a lot of people kind of makes you go, well, they're pointless, so I'm not going to bother then. But I mean, some people just like comic books.
And some people just want to read more Star Wars themed stuff. I think,
Yes.
yeah, like, I'm pretty sure you're right in the comics aren't canon. And then that also lines up with like these Star Wars Visions technically isn't canon.
Yeah, no,
Um,
they're like homages, aren't they? It's like, what
yeah,
if we do this with Star Wars? And
yeah,
I mean, it was fucking awesome. The umbrella with the million lightsabers, it was just sick.
yeah. There was some
More,
really creative ideas. Um,
100%.
yeah, that was very cool.
We also got confirmation that the Beyonder is
Mm,
going to be the big bad for Avengers sequels. Which is really funny because the Beyonder is a Kang variant
yeah,
and will be being played by Jonathan Majors.
yeah.
So I feel like they've only announced this because they don't want people to get confused if a Kang variant dies in any of the films that are coming up.
Do you know what I think it is as well? We mentioned, I think, a while back when all the Phase 5 stuff and 6 got announced. Like, we wondered if are we gonna start getting more Kang variants because obviously the one in Loki is very clearly different and has been confirmed as different to the one in Ant-Man.
Yes.
Um, so it's like that's clearly a theme they're gonna kind of run with. So them announcing it, I think, is one to help. They know the casual fans might not quite have grasped that yet, so they're making sure there isn't that level of confusion. And I think it's also to cover them, like one, like you say, if one of them dies at some point in the next phase, or if there's like these weird characters have met one Kang, but then they meet Kang again and he doesn't know them,
Yeah.
then people are like, well, they've already met him. Why doesn't he remember? But
Yeah.
then it's more so I think they're trying to cover themselves with the casual fans because they are. it's that weird point now because there's so many shows and so many films that it's harder for the casual MCU fan to keep up.
100%.
And it's getting more complicated in just like multiverse stuff, which is all expected. So it's just they don't want to lose them too much. So, but I'm
Yeah, I
excited
agree.
for it. I'm down for as many Kang variants as we can get.
Stack 'em in, bro.
It'll be
And that
good.
is it from the Nerd News Network.
Yeah.
Until next week. I'm sure there'll be more shit.
There'll probably be stuff
As
10
always,
minutes
more.
after we're done recording.
Yeah.
So
It wasn't too bad over Christmas, but it was also Christmas.
yeah, everyone went quiet.
But this brings us on to our superhero showdown
Yes, back to it.
between the Blue Beetle and Deadman.
Both your picks, I think.
Potentially. Should I have a little look? Where's my mouse gone? There it is.
I think they were. I know Blue Beetle was.
Yeah, Blue Beetle definitely is. There's no way you're choosing Blue Beetle.
I think I didn't choose him because I thought you would choose him.
Deadman is also my pick. You're right.
Thought so.
So I've got Blue Beetle seeded at 4 and Deadman seeded at 5, giving Deadman the advantage. Obviously, it's your old standard rules. To the death, bloodlusted, yada yada. Now Deadman's advantage is an interesting one.
Yeah, I don't really know much about him, so I don't know what advantage
I think
he can get.
the easiest advantage to give him is Blue Beetle Jaime is still very inexperienced.
Okay.
Because the Blue Beetle armor is ridiculous.
Okay.
So I think him being inexperienced with the Scarab makes it a bit fairer.
Yeah, I can see. Yeah, I can get on with that.
So Deadman is, it's weird. I guess you could kind of call him a ghost. I think that's probably one of the better ways to describe him. He interacts with Nth Metal a fair bit.
Right. Okay.
So like he's a spooky, scary skeleton. But but let me just get a list up quickly of powers in case there is anything obvious that I am missing.
I briefly looked, and I'm in my.
So he's got ghost physiology, which means he's got flight. He's intangible. He can go invisible, and he can possess stuff. He can also kind of do a little bit of mind control. He's got enhanced senses and travel dimensions.
Blue Beetle has a fuck ton of stuff.
Yeah, Blue Beetle. So basically, the way the Scarab works, the alien Scarab that creates the armor, is it has like I guess you call it kind of like a symbiotic relationship with Jaime. So you can kind of read his mind, but it kind of does its own thing as well.
Interesting.
Which is why Jaime being experienced is so important, because he has a bit more control over what it's going to do to try and help him. Whereas when he's inexperienced, imagine something that's sentient trying to help you.
Yeah, and
but you have no ability to tell it how to help you.
Yeah.
So he can almost end up fighting the Scarab while also trying to fight someone.
Yeah.
I don't think the intangibility issue bothers the Scarab.
I was going to say, this is my question then. Going off Deadman's powers, the only one that is in potential big advantage for him is if he can't be hit because he's intangible.
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure it has energy-based powers.
Right. Yeah, there'll be some like certain things hit ghosts.
Yeah, energy projection. So I'm gonna go ahead and assume that he can hurt Ghostman. The problem, Deadman. The problem is, can you kill him?
I guess. That's a good question. Can you kill what's dead?
Or can you do so much?
Well, here's the thing. We've done this before, though, with Hulk and Wolverine. Like, they technically don't die. It's just one of them's in a position where they can't fight back.
True.
So, can Blue Beetle...
That's more likely to be.
beat Deadman to a point where he is unable to fight back, essentially, and would normally be dead, but in the situation of this, like he just can't.
I'm gonna go ahead and say that Blue Beetle can produce enough energy consistently to just unlock Deadman.
Yeah. So my going off like my brief look at powers and stuff was like Blue Beetle has more strength and stamina going for him. And
Yes.
I think though inexperienced we're doing the whole inexperienced thing, I think that doesn't change how strong and durable the armor and stuff is. So it's like that's gonna keep going. I don't think Deadman.
The Scarab is OP, but does Jaime waste time just swinging punches going through him? And does that then give Deadman the opportunity to just win? I don't think
That's
Deadman can kill him. That's my problem.
Yeah, I don't think he can kill him, and I don't know if he can necessarily actually get him to a point where like he can't even fight back.
Because I wouldn't be confident saying he could possess Jaime while the Scarab's protecting him.
No, I don't think so.
So I don't think there's any way we can give it to Deadman.
No, and I feel like even if Jaime like is getting worn down, the Scarab's just gonna keep going for him.
Yes.
So it's like, yeah, I don't see a world really where Deadman wins. Obviously, the whole can he be killed? I guess it's more can he be defeated to the point where it's like he is unable to fight. I think Blue Beetle wins. I don't think it's an
I
easy
would be
win.
inclined to agree. No, neither do I. But I think it's not easy more due to his inexperience, not because of his physical capabilities.
Yeah, I think it just takes him a lot longer, and he himself makes it a harder fight than it needs to be.
I agree. Well, there we have it then. Blue Beetle becomes our last member of the next round in the DC Heroes. So
My
next
favorite
week we
faction
will
of the day.
have, yeah, we'll have something versus Red Hood next week
Oh,
to be the first finalist in the DC Hero category.
that should be interesting.
It should, and that will also be episode 50,
Yeah,
which is crazy.
like 5-0.
It's also like a year since the first episode,
It is.
which
So
is
this,
wild.
like, and this time last year, we were going mental over Spider-Man.
Yes, we were. We were absolutely
Can't
losing our
believe
ever-loving shit.
it's been over a year since we had that now.
Because the film had already been out for like a month at that point as
Well,
well.
yeah, exactly. So it's like,
It's craziness.
yeah,
This time we had like 9 subs. Now we have like 260 something.
yeah, it's not bad. Not bad start. Not
Not
bad
bad at
first
all.
year.
A Siffley top and only halfway up.
Exactly. So if you haven't
But
already,
make sure, yeah, make sure you're liking, subscribing. If you're on any of them audio platform things, the Spotify's, the Apple Music's, Google Podcasts,
leave a like.
like
Follow.
it, rate it. I don't know. Some of them do like, some of them do ratings and reviews.
Yeah.
If we get any ratings or reviews, maybe we'll read some out. I know that's the thing a lot of podcasts do.
It is.
So,
I mean, even anyone who comments on YouTube, maybe
yeah,
we'll read your comments out.
Yeah, if you want to do like a reviewy type comment, go for it. We'll go through some of them. But thank you as always. We'll see you next week with more Bad Batch.
Yes. More Bad Batch. And I mean, hopefully, plenty of nerd news.
Yeah, probably. I've got a feeling next week's gonna be a busy week.
Yeah, probably. Probably DC as well.
Always.
Yeah. We'll see you next week.
Bye.